Okay, so hello again, YouTube. It's Tempest. This is part two of my meta changes discussion. Um, in my last video, I went over basically the important clans from the Sanctuary and the Dragonic Empire. So, if you want to know anything about Royal Paladin, Gold Paladin, Oracle Think Tank, Angel Feather, Shadow Paladin, Kagero, Narukami, Tachikaze, or Murakumo, go watch the very end of my other video. This will be doing everything else in the meta because cross rides are here, and I'm trying to analyze which clans are going to be the best to compete with the cross rides. So I'm going to get right back into it. We're going to Zoo now. Great Nature is the first one that comes to mind from there. Um, that's an excellent choice against them. They have the doping ability, which gives one unit 4,000 power, but it gets retired at the end phase. Very consistent. Um, they have Apt as their Vanguard, which gains 5,000 power when it attacks. And then of course there's Leopold, which gives 4K to a rearguard when it attacks. It's just there's so much good stuff in that clan. They have no problem against cross rides. I'm not sure if they have a 10K Vanguard booster or not, but the fact that they give 4K to every one of their units is just really nice. I like it a lot. I think it's possible. Um, what else there? Neo Nectar. Neo Nectar has a very hard time against cross rides until set 8 comes out, because set 8 gives us Arboros Dragons. His ability is very good for an all vanilla deck, because if you have two or more Neo Nectar with the same name on the field, all those units gain 3,000 power. So that deck has no problems against cross rides. However, the stuff from set 5 solely relies on Maiden of Trailing Rose, which is not very good at all. It's incredibly hard to get off. There's no draw power. Well, there's not enough draw power in that deck. At least Mandala Lord can be searchable by everything in Murakumo, but the Persona Blast for Maiden of Trailing Rose just seems like a lot for it does so little, and honestly, you're not going to be able to hit 23 with anything in that deck anyway. I would say stay away from Neo Nectar until set 8 comes out, especially with competing against cross rides. And then finally, Mega Colony is a big no. Despite being able to shut down your opponent's rear guards, they can't do anything against especially Overlord the End and Phantom Blaster Dragon. There's nothing they can do. There's no 23 attackers. There's just not. I mean, I guess Master Fraud is a good one if you have Stealth Millipede out, you know. So that's not true. Mega Colony can do it, can pull it off, but the fact is they don't have any good 18K rearguard column. So that's the Vanguard can swing for big numbers, but the rearguards not always can. So it's not that they're not good physically, but it's very hard to like the stuff you get from it is not good. Like you can have Phantom Black boosting Bloody Hercules or a Tailjaw or something on the rear guard and have your Stealth Millipede boosting your Master Fraud. And for me being a Mega Colony player at some point, I like it. I think it's possible. It's just this deck isn't strong enough. It doesn't have enough draw power to compete against that kind of thing. And even though it deals enough damage, it's not. It's possible, but it's not ideal. I don't think. Same with my next clan, Grand Blue. Yeah, they have two 10K Vanguard boosters. They have the Evil Shade, which lets you mill 2 when it attacks and it gains 4,000. When it boosts, it gains 4,000. And then, of course, the Dragon Spirit, which lets you Soul Blast 1 when it boosts to Cositis, and then Cositis gains 5,000 power. Those are both very good. The only problem with Grand Blue is that the only good Vanguard they have that can hit for 23 is Cositis. So in competing against cross rides, you don't have a lot of variety in that deck. You have to run Cositis. Which is not a bad thing. Every Grand Blue deck runs Cositis now anyway, but the problem being you have to have Romario on your rear guards to hit the cross rides, because if you want to get Thanatos to go off, you have to have him hit for 18, and he doesn't hit for 18 unless you have Romario boosting him. So not a lot of Grand Blue decks like running Romario, but in this day and age, he's going to become a necessity. So to that extent, Grand Blue really isn't that good. The other thing they do have to compete with them is the Undead Dragon Skull Dragon. But again, it doesn't hit for 23, and it retires itself at the end phase, so not quite as good. And then finally, well, actually not finally, continuing on. Again, Bermuda, Grand Blue and Mega Colony, they're not bad, but they're not the best choices for this kind of meta. Again, so moving on, Bermuda Triangle. Bermuda Triangle is by far the worst deck of the new meta. The only reason they were good is because they had Pearl and Pearl to team up with each other, which hit for 16. That was good. Pacifica and Lena, yes, they are 13k attackers, but what really kills the deck is that there's no 12 or 13k rearguard attackers, like except for Flute, and there's no 10k Vanguard boosters, which is what really hurts the deck. So while it's possible for Bermudas to make good rearguard columns, they don't have any extra added like force to them, you know. And Bermudas like having the extra, being able to, if something hits, bounce it and whatnot. So I mean, if you're running Reindeer, it's competitive, sure, because of all the cards you can draw, but offensively it doesn't really do much because you're only going to have the max that Reindeer can hit for is 18, you know. And of course, Lena and Pacifica only hit for 21 max each because there's no 10k Vanguard boosters, you know. So it's not like it's a bad deck by any means, but it's not ideal if you want to do the Crossfire this format. Bermuda Triangle is probably the worst deck to play. Aqua Force comes out in April, and it gets more support in set 8. Not a fan of Aqua Force personally. It focuses on attacking multiple times, but to get their main Vanguard's effects to go off. But against cross rides, even the main Vanguards that don't have their own boosters for them, they're just not going to be able to compete very well, I don't think. Not until they get their own cross ride, which does happen. Spoiler alert. In June, we'll get the cross ride for Aqua Force, and then they'll actually be very, very, very good. But until then, not a fan of Aqua Force. I don't think they're going to be bad, but they're not going to be ideal either. So, what else we got? Okay, yeah. So Dark Zone. We got the Dark Irregulars. Yes, of course they can do it. And they have Reggie, and they have Amon, and they have Dark Lord of Abyss. Especially Amon and Dark Lord of Abyss. They have the great abilities of gaining power when you have stuff in the soul. They have Doreen's, and more importantly, they have Amon, the grade 1 boost for 9 if you have 6 or more in your soul. They have Doreen, which gains 3,000 every time a card is put in your soul. That's very, very good. They have no problem competing with cross rides. What else is there? Pale Moon. Pale Moon is kind of an iffy kind of thing. Some decks rely on just the sheer power. Like if you're running Barking Manticore, you can probably pull it off. The problem with Pale Moon is that the most consistent decks are the Sarah build using just straight up Sarah trading off stuff from your soul, and the other one is using Sarah to bounce Alice's and stuff and attack with the Alice's. So Alice's can't hit the cross rides unless they're unboosted, which means that they're kind of worthless for their effects. Sarah can't hit for more than 21 because she doesn't have her own Vanguard booster, which means that the only way you can get the Pale Moon deck to work is by losing Lukier, which gains like 3,000 power or something whenever a unit's called out of your soul. So her limit break lets you call out 4 guys from your soul, which is very good, very strong. It makes good rearguard columns, but Lukier is from what I understand, to be a very, very bad way to run the deck because it wastes so many counterblasts that the deck needs. So yes, it's possible to play Pale Moon, but not to their most effectiveness, unfortunately. Spike Brothers, of course, they're Spike Brothers. Juggernaut Maximum boosted by even a 6k booster hit for 22. 23 if it's boosted by a 7 or 8k booster. So your Dudley Emperors won't be able to hit their big numbers necessarily, but with Juggernaut Maximum, with 2 rearguard columns swing for 23, it's almost, you know, there's almost no problem it has with cross rides. It's so easy. Nova Grapplers. I don't think Nova Grapplers are very good against them. They don't have any good Vanguard boosters. They don't have any real strong kind of things. They have strong rearguard columns, and they can attack multiple times, especially with Death Army. Sure, I guess that's one way you can do it. Cosmo Lord is really the only way you can do it because he forces you to rest of rearguard and he gains like 3,000 power. But Cosmo Lord isn't widely used for some reason. I don't know. I like to build a lot personally. But once you get the Death Army Cosmo Lord in whenever that set comes out, that'll be very good for the clan. But unfortunately, they don't really have anything that can compete with the cross rides except for not even Stern Block are really good at it. Just really Cosmo Lord. That's it, unfortunately. And then finally, D-Police. Definitely a D-Police. Dimension Police have their own Vanguard booster in not Karen Roy Daisy. What the heck is her name? Glory Maker. If you have 4 more damage, Glory Maker becomes a 10k booster. And then of course they have the Cosmo Roars, Cosmo Beaks, Granders, everything powers up the Vanguard by like 2,000 or 4,000 power. So basically, if you have Enigman Storm on your Vanguard circle, that's an 11k attacker. Boosted by Glory Maker is a 21 attacker. If you have a Grander or Cosmo Lord, that's 2,000 power right there. That's all you need to break the cross ride because you're hitting for 23 with a crit of 2 already. If you play Cosmo Beak, that means that he's switching. Well, actually, it's not. You wouldn't be swinging for crit of 2 with 23,000 power, but with Cosmo Beak in play and you counterblast 2 and give him the 4,000 power, then he'd be swinging for 25 crit of 2. But yeah, Dimension Place had no problem against it, not at all. Especially if you're running the Enigma variant. And then of course Miracle Beauty makes it even better because if she gets rested for Laurel, then you can just like stand her when you get a stand trigger. So that's pretty nice. So that's the entire clan list and my opinion of them. Just to recap, I think the best way to compete with them would be looking at this list. Probably the good ones are Gold Paladins, Oracle Think Tank, Angel Feather, Kagero, Tachikaze, Great Nature, Dark Irregulars, Spike Brothers, and Dimension Police. And the kind of ones that can pull it off, but not as well, are the probably Royal Paladin, Shadow Paladin, Narukami, Grand Blue, Pale Moon, and Nova Grapplers. And then the ones that you probably should stay away from, in my opinion, would be the Murakumo, Neo Nectar, and Bermuda Triangle. That's mainly because it's ever from a lack of support. When May rolls around, Tachikaze and Tachikaze and Neo Nectar get a lot better with set 8, and so do Aqua Force really. So those three clans can become a lot more viable. But personally, at this point in the meta, they're not worth it really. Everything else is really every clan can compete with Cross Rise except for a select few. But as long as you have a clan that can make a 23k Vanguard column, which means that it has to really have a 23 or 13 or 14k Vanguard attacker and a 9 or 10k Vanguard booster. 9, 10, 11k, something like that. So that's just a way to go by, and that's ideal. And then, of course, if it can make 1 or 2 18k rearguard columns, even 23k rearguard columns in like Spike Brothers and stuff, or Dark Irregulars, that's also very good, and it will help you out a lot. So that's what I think of the meta right now. Be sure to tune in later for my Yu-Gi-Oh update, and thank you again for watching. And I'll be sure to get more Vanguard videos as the meta progresses. Thanks again.